Well, hello to all my swans out there. My name is EJ, and welcome to my channel. If you joined us for last week's double episode, thank you so much for joining, for subscribing, for commenting, liking. It was such a special experience. So happy people liked my review of Capote versus the Swans episode 1 and 2. But let's get ready for this week's episode. We are going to be talking about Feud Capote versus the Swans episode 3. It's called Masquerade 1966. Overall, we know the acting is strong, we know the direction is strong, but I have to shout out the cinematography and the art direction for this episode. For the whole series, I mean, the looks, it's lush, it feels lived in, it feels real. My goodness, what a beautiful looking show, especially in this sleek, just almost pitch perfect to the era black and white cinematography. I love black and white cinematography. I love black and white photos. Godzilla Minus One is a movie, minus one minus color, that came out this year that I was just enamored by the visuals. I think there is something so rich about filming in black and white. It's why I liked last year's Maestro with Bradley Cooper so much. It's impressive cinematography, and there is a way to make black and white look timeless, look just like as it should, as it was, but still work for a modern audience. That's what this episode looked like. The way the camera looked in, trying to capture a documentary. We'll talk about the Maisel brothers, Capote. We'll talk about the whole episode in my recap section. But for this review part, I just had to shout out how wonderful it all looked. It just felt, I don't know, it felt classic. It looked straight up like it would when you're making a Maisel's brother documentary from back then. I mean, if you've ever seen the Grey Gardens documentary, one of the best pieces of cinema, and what they cooked up here with Capote, and how Gus Van Sant and his team from the camera department to the art department really brought this to life. It took you back to that time period. This show is so transportive. It really takes you from where you are in my very 2024 house that I live in, and I feel like for a moment I'm with this, as they described American royalty in this gilded age. It's just impressive. Amazing immersive work, and once again another strong episode here. I loved the conversations. I mean, this whole show is a dissection of the relationship between gay men and women, and I think that's not talked about enough. The dependency. I believe they say women are used to being betrayed like this, so the intimacy that Capote offers them, they hunger for. But there's also a vaguely abusive relationship, much like they deal with their husbands, and they're trying to go to this gay man to have some sort of bond and some sort of connection with a male figure that may not be interested in them sexually, but my goodness, he's still manipulating, still using them, and it's hard. I mean, the way he talks to Anne Woodward is disgusting. The way he, I guess everything comes back to him as his, devil on his shoulder. Mom is always there to be like, you're a piece of shit, and there's no angel on Capote's other shoulder, so it's just mom whispering that he's bad at his job and he's a horrible person. It's complicated. This show is dealing with a lot. It's talking about a lot. And I enjoy it. I love this look at the original Housewives, especially in this episode. The meta commentary, legit made this feel like I was watching a 1966 episode of The Real Housewives of New York. It's just so posh, it's so luxe, but there's just such a dark underbelly. And then we would cut to the confessionals. We would see something happen in real life, it unfold, and then the confessionals would happen, and Lee's just like, that's not what happened. Slim's like, let me manipulate the story in my way. These women are so crazy because we see this happening now. It's just wild of how much has never changed. The way we discuss women, the way women are supposed to act, and the striving for perfection, and how that is sometimes mocked. It's not achievable, but then the women, especially like Bibi, who strive to feel perfect, to look perfect, are often mocked by Capote, by the people around her. It's confusing. This definitely is a pro-women show, I think. I think Ryan Murphy often centers women in his in the productions, but what they're doing with Feud and having Gus Van Sant and this writing team really focus on this conversation of what women deal with, the relationships with gay men, and how that's toxic and how it's needed on both ends. I mean, he's so desperate. I was going to put this later in my notes, but Capote feels like that one loser kid in high school who is now vaguely popular, and he's just abusing it. It's like, as a chubby person, I'm going to call some people out. When overweight people lose weight and then they become the worst human being ever because that ego, or born again Christians, that's what like his character, that's what Capote reminds me of, is this person who had this one life and is such in a vastly different life now, and he forgot where he came from. He forgets how to act like a normal, decent human, and it's confusing. It's hard to watch. I love watching it. I mean, Tom Hollander in this episode I think was better as Capote, less of a Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes character in this very harsh world. He feels a little bit more scaled back, and I think that made this episode even stronger. Masquerade 66 is a very strong episode. I don't think as strong as the first two, but I really liked what they had to offer here. And now let's get into the nitty gritty of what happened during Masquerade 1966. As the title implies, we are in the year 1966, and the Maisel brothers are teaming up with Capote. The Maisel brothers are like famous documentary filmmakers. They're teaming up with Capote to make a documentary to kind of follow his journey as he creates this masquerade ball. We're seeing, the early workings of it, like him and BB trying to plan it. We have conversations between like Monet and Manet, and my goodness, I feel like I'm back in like art classes. It's tough. So yeah, we're seeing Capote kind of prepare for this party. His relationship with BB is weird. We're really, especially because we've seen the aftermath of the exposure. She so cares for this dude, and the way he just flippantly just exposes all her stuff, and that's a conversation throughout this of, oh, you won't put that in the documentary. He's like, no, I will never. Ugh. He annoys the hell out of me. So BB's doing her own thing, and we're kind of looming as who's the guest of honor. Because everyone was the guest of honor by the end of it. Capote is so frustrating. I love, Tom Hollander's great. The Capote character, Capote in real life, what a figure we had. But in this show, I would have smacked him a couple times. I am not pro beating up a fragile, drunk gay man, but I wish Slim would tombstone pile driver the man. Anyways, so we were getting moments with each of the swans. So kind of almost every commercial break, we would come back and join a new swan. We see the beginnings with BB. We were seeing CZ, who is struggling. She, hates the camera. She feels like it's hard to be authentic. We're going to the talking heads. We're seeing the kind of camera float around, and she's just not vibing with it. She's not really, liking it, especially when, she calls Capote out of fear and scaredness because the IRS is, taking everything she owns and taking the house, and he brings the documentary crew with him. There's just no respect for the dolls, like no respect for what these swans are doing for him. Truly, he is in a point of privilege that he is barely privileged to have. They can snatch that away, as we see later on, and that's kind of always a looming threat. Slim brings it up later, like, yeah, he's just, he's kind of scared, we have power over him, and I'm like, yes, but he also has a lot of shit on you guys. So yeah, we're seeing, the CZ stuff. We're having, again, conversations about gay men and glamorous women. And Capote, I just don't like the way he talks to his dolls. I think each one of them, he's always shoving liquor down their throat. He's always, like, trying to say what he thinks is the best idea. And it's just like, no, that's what you want for your drama and your narratives to have. So, we're seeing with BB deal with a lack of control. He invites this woman to come plan the party, I believe. And of course, Paley, her husband, is sleeping with her as well. And BB's such an interesting character because she wants that perfection, she wants that good life, but everything around her is like forcing her to not have it. And that's where I say, as my life, I gave up on trying to be perfect. I gave up on trying to have an ideal life and just make the life that I have now and live in it. But that's not available to upper crust, rich white folk. They have to live the life. And I'm not, pro rich white people, and, they're hard lives, but it is hard to live in this socialite life, to live in this, you have that public persona, you have to live that up, but privately, you may be a horrible person, but you cannot expose that. And I think that's something I love about celebrities now. Beyonce infamously doesn't really do interviews, doesn't really deal with a lot, but when she does that Lemonade album and invites you into her world, you're like, holy smokes. I wish more celebrities now were more private, where we didn't need to know what Ariana Grande ate for dinner last week. You know what I mean? I miss this era where people were private, and then we would have the tabloids or the blind items expose their gossips. It's tough. It's tough for these women, and it's tough dealing with Capote, especially as he's drinking, melting down, and trying to plan this damn party. one of the more interesting conversations, and I believe they talk about Capote looking for a sense of purpose. He really wants to be able to be the fixer. He wants to be there for them because, again, he wants to feel important because he's not. Yes, he's a talented writer. Yes, he, has the connections that he does, but he can easily be removed from this life and this situation as they do, as we know in in the future, and it wouldn't really change the dynamic of anything. So he knows his spot is a bit fragile. That's why he tells every one of them basically that they're the guest of honor, when really not so much. So yeah, we're at the Masquerade ball. Everyone looks amazing. Again, art department. Yo, the masks that y'all make, the setting, the party, it all looked so damn lush. That's the word I keep thinking of, lush. It feels lived in. It doesn't feel like these are just perfect archive vintage pieces that were, this couch is from 1966, so we can't touch it. No, that couch looks like it's been there since 1966. It looks like it's kept up. My goodness, I love the authenticness of this. I think it looks great. So we're at the party and we're saying Capote won a drunk mess. Take the bottle from the gay. My goodness, the boy needs some serious help. So yeah, we're seeing like everyone. I mean, Slim is so cutthroat. She jokingly threatens to cut off Capote because she's like inviting an ex of their, oh my goodness, just Slim in general. Diane Lane is doing the damn thing. I think Naomi Watts is truly the star of the show. She is so good as BB, but Slim, every time Diane Lane comes up here, I mean, Chloë Sevigny is good. My other secret one is Anne Woodward. Demi, what a godsend she is. So yeah, we're really seeing how cutthroat Slim is. We're seeing how much you don't want to mess around with it. So by the time we're at the ball, tensions are high. I think there's a point I love is the point and fun of a party is who you don't invite. And Capote is really like reveling in, well, these people are invited to my party, but these people aren't. And I'm like, the people who are invited barely want to be here with you, bro. Like Slim, CZ, BB, they're just barely dealing with you. We have like people like Anne, Calista Flockhart's character as well. She has another one where she just claps back. So Anne does show up to the party eventually, and the way Capote speaks to her, especially in front of her son, I'm surprised her son did not snatch at that boy. But that's what Anne's wanting. She's at the party. She knows everyone knows about her secret, dirty secret. And she's like, the real secret I have is I still like you. What the hell? But yeah, she is like basically kind of using this moment to, she doesn't want her son exiled. This is the part, what happens when this rich person is exiled from the rich life? What do? Well, you work a good 9 to 5. You're like a rich white kid, Anne Woodward's child. You would have been fine. You would have been fine. You don't need the socialite life, especially after you see how they handled your mother. So yeah, he just calls Anne a murderer, and it's so gross. It is so gross how he speaks to her. And I don't care if she killed her man. I'm sorry. I'm not pro killing anybody, but that's not your business, Capote. If the cops don't care, you need to get up out of it, sis. I just saw that Monique interview with Shannon Sharp of like, if it's not your business, maybe, it is your business if someone's getting hurt. And I'm not in that mindset. It's not my business. I'm going to shut up about it. But yes, Capote is just a hot mess. He has this scene which plays off in a moment where he's dancing around the party and he's by himself and everyone's like, what the hell is wrong with Capote? And I'm like, truly, what is wrong with him? And we find out in a scene at the very end of this episode, he's dancing with his mother, his deceased mother, played by Jessica Lange. She shows up again, eats. Jessica Lange could be in this show for like a scene. We could see her in the background and she would still eat up all the girls. Like her work as Capote's mother, the relationship between her, like Jessica Lange and Tom Hollander as actors, it's just timeless. It feels like it's great. Really love what was happening here. We see that wonderful dance scene where he's dancing with his mother and it's so dark. It's so sad. The score was great, but we're also having this moment in color. The outfits though, Jessica Lange's like black, like, Grim Reaper vibe. I just love her character as this like evil, like, hi, my son, I'm going to tell you to do bad things. I'm like, oh, it's so good. This episode was so fulfilling. I love this show. I think it is truly just a bunch of like folks sitting around tables smoking cigarettes and talking shit. But honestly, I'm fine with that. All right, that is my breakdown of episode 3 of Capote versus the Swans. Feud season 2 is off to an amazing start. I could watch more of these classic era stuff. As much as I want to see Feud Vin Diesel versus Dwayne Johnson, I love these classic time periods that we're diving into. I love getting to learn new things. I mean, again, I knew about Capote. I talked about it in that first episode, my first review, but this is all new to me, and I can't wait to do more research. You guys have suggested Infamous in my comments. I will be watching that, and I will be watching the Capote movie that came out. Finally going to get that. I had a crazy busy weekend, so I'm happy to be back talking with you guys. Going to be diving into all things Capote, and also someone I believe suggested the book. Thank you so much. Also, those comments, guys. People like John O'Shea's child messaged, commented. We've had people in the crew comment, so thank you guys all for watching. Thank you guys for making and allowing the show to just be out here. It's so good, so needed. What did you guys think of this episode? What did you think of this review? Share your thoughts down there below. Give me a thumbs up if you like, and make sure you subscribe to my channel because I make videos like this every single week. All right, guys, tell me what you want to see. Tell me what you liked. Let's talk about all things Feud Capote right down there.